now.
He said, good morning from Phoenix, Arizona, where it will hit 90 degrees today. Listen, Tom, be very grateful that you are the age that you are and you have the ability to be in Phoenix, because quite frankly, it's all I can think about right now.
How about that?
Do you know how many snowbirds are stuck up here right now for whatever reason, not being able to get out of Canada into the warm locales?
November's like the worst month to be stuck here.
Yep.
At least by January, February, you're used to it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
It is. Welcome, Canada, to the RP Show, episode number 462.
I stand corrected.
What?
It's April, not November. It's April.
The farmers are very happy. I should have put a photo up from, for those that don't know, here in the sweatpants capital. I shoveled 6 inches of snow from our front step yesterday. Left the house today. I was a little bit behind. I'm like, again?
Except it's 3 times as much.
That's like 2 feet. So anyways, I see my friends, because I follow a lot of farmers, producers, ag people on Twitter. They're like, thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you, God. So I understand that. That's why I've been calling this a $1 billion snowfall yesterday. Maybe today was a $2 billion snowfall, because our number one industry out here is agriculture. So, and who loves what does agriculture love? Hockey and football.
That's right.
Yeah. So fun day today. And a newsworthy day today, too, by the way. The Canadian Football Hall of Fame announcing just this morning, I think it was 7 a.m., the Hall of Fame induction class. That's part of our Quick Six, but I'll just say our guest today from that class is Nick Lewis. Thick Nick is going to be in the bunker with his business partner, Gerald Smiley. So we won't just be talking about Nick Lewis's football career. We're going to be talking about his post-football career, which, if I may, I mean, it involves us around here, but he is as excited about that as he is about football. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's how you know it's going to be successful.
So Gerald Smiley, Guy Smiley, I'll call him, and Nick Lewis will be with us. That's in hour 2. And coming up later on in hour 1, Gary Lawless, Vegas Golden Knights insider, to recap the NHL trade deadline. Couple small moves by Canada's team, the Vegas Golden Knights. They won last night. Everything's coming up great with Canada's team.
Everything's good.
Okay, let's hit the Quick Six show topics. Please, Director Jordan. Please and thank you. And I will get to your comments in a moment, folks. This is our portion of the show. And it's the warm-up, by the way, for the Four Seasons Sports Palace. Let me get Georgie, the Greek Freak's text here. Order a fabulous Four Seasons pizza and your favorite beverage for takeout and delivery. One-stop shopping, call, or order online. You're locked down, you're under 2 feet of snow, and you got hockey on the television. What else do you need?
It's a pizza night.
It's a pizza night. Call the Four Seasons Sports Palace. Okay, so the number one, it's good CFL news in that the Canadian Football Hall of Fame announced its induction class for 2021 today, and I just mentioned Nick Lewis is one of them. Elsewhere, Marv Levy, one of the biggest names in football. It's shocking that he is not in yet, to be honest with you. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Marv Levy now winning the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. He coached the Montreal Alouettes for 5 years in the 70s, won 2 Grey Cups. He's a stud, Darren. He's 95 years of age, by the way, and just sharp as a tack. He's going in. Also, Doug Mitchell, the former commissioner of the Canadian Football League, and then Will Johnson, Don Wilson, Orlando Steinauer, Mike Walker, and I believe I have everybody. Yeah, that's all of them. It's a big class, and I'm showing my age in that I feel like I have a kinship or association with all of them in that I called the games with Orlando Steinauer and Nick Lewis. Mike Walker was a rider coach here along the D-line. I mean, he had a Hall of Fame playing career with Hamilton. Don Wilson, I had his trading card back in the day with the Argos. Will Johnson, when he played with the Calgary Stampeders, we used to go to the bar in Calgary when I was at Mount Royal University, college at the time. There was a place called the Longhorn Trio Grand, and it was, Darren, as fantastic as it sounds.
Wow.
I used to bump into Theo Fleury in the bathroom at that place. And Will Johnson, we would just look at Will Johnson and go, whoa, that's Will Johnson. You know what I mean? What a stud.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my association with Will Johnson. Bumping into him on McLeod Trail South in Calgary back in our misspent youth. And then Doug Mitchell, who I'm not sure I've ever met, but I know his son Scott Mitchell quite well. He's the president of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, or has a very prominent role with them. So that's a great class. What are your thoughts on the class?
That's a great class. And you look at, some of the players in that class. I mean, Will Johnson, but you look at, for me, Orlando Steinauer and Nick Lewis, they were stars in the Canadian Football League that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
They were the stars, right? I mean, right there. So that's, for me, it's funny, when you start to age, now the Hall of Fame class is starting to become my heroes.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Gene Mikowski was one of them when he went in with the Riders, and now it's happening now. So I have great memories of watching these Hall of Famers playing, and that's going to continue. So it's kind of fun now to be at this age to be able to see it.
Of course, we are broadcasting from the Rectangle, the heartbeat of the Canadian Football League, and it's interesting to note no Saskatchewan Roughriders in this induction class. Now, the former executive director of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, Mark DeNoble, is a very good friend of mine, but he's not with the Hall of Fame anymore. We've been going back and forth the past couple of weeks. Mark used to always ensure there was a Rough Rider in that class, at least one. You go back and you just look. Eddie Davis, Tom Shepard, Bobby Jurison. There was always one, because he's like, I know that it'll drum up huge interest in the 306. And Mark, I think, had a hand in this class, too. It's not that he didn't, but I think that maybe they feel that they can get enough buzz across the whole country. They don't need to put in wouldn't be the token Rough Riders, because those guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, too. Yeah. But I will say this, Arash, he and I are texting back and forth. He's mounted the campaign to get Dwayne Mandrusiak into the Hall of Fame, the 49-year equipment manager of the Eskimos who was let go this offseason. And my personal campaign is for Ken Austin, to be honest with you. So, anyways, it's about this year's class, and way to go. Bravo. 2.2, CFL is in talks with the federal government for funding. It's interesting. If you watched real closely to the show yesterday, what we were saying was, I'm not saying the CFL won't play in 2021. There's a lot of people that really feel that they will. We explained the reasons, what the hurdles are to get in, but a big part of it is getting federal funding from Ottawa, and I'll get to the XFL merger in a moment. I don't know where it's going to go. You see Air Canada's getting a couple billion from the government. I don't think you can compare the Canadian Football League versus Air Canada. One is an essential service, I would suggest. The other is a luxury. I don't like to say it, but we learned here in the pandemic that sports is a luxury. We can survive without it. If I said it's 50-50 that Ottawa will write a check, what would you say are the chances of that?
Yeah, probably 50-50. There's a lot more pressure coming on the government now to write a check when it comes to a second season. I would say 50-50. I don't think it's a slam dunk. The interesting thing is the request, we're likely, if they're going to get a check, we're going to see the CFL's books. Right?
Yeah.
That's coming. I'd like to think that we've learned from it if we're the CFL, and I'd like to think that the government's. You don't go back to the government a second time unless you're pretty confident that you're going to have more success than you did the first time, right? I don't think you go in blind saying, well, let's just ask again, and maybe the answers change.
Right. No, the headline at 3 Down Nation, or as we're lovingly calling it, 3 Dunk Nation yesterday, was back again. CFL asking for money, but you're saying it's not necessarily that. So I want them to play. I do. On the Hall of Fame class, Jeff the Stamps fan, says, many assume Charleston Hughes is the Stamps all-time leading sacker. It is, in fact, Will Johnson. He goes on to say, Will became a constable for Calgary Police Service post-football career. I'm telling you, Will Johnson, stud in every regard. Mondo respect for Will Johnson from here. From the comments slipped off the page here, but somebody was referring to, it was a new viewer on YouTube. I got to give him his, from Card Collector 88. He says, I love the CFL class this year. Everybody feels this is just a whiz-bang class for the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, so they got it right. But back to the CFL thing, man, I want to get to hockey, and we're just, time flies on this show, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Just on the 2021 season, again, 50-50 if they get the money. I'm hoping they play. I'm not even in possession of necessarily all of the facts. And I would have wavered on what I was saying about the MLSC and where the CFL's at right now with MLSC if it wasn't the guys that were on the other end of the phone with me. And I'm not going to give any hints whatsoever because they made me swear that I wouldn't. But I'm like, I respect these guys so much. They've been around so long. Why they're calling me, I don't know. But they are. So I'm very confident in where they're going with an XFL-CFL merger. And by the way, on that, I read somewhere, because I read all the articles yesterday, that the federal government people say we want to fund a league that's going to be around for years. I think there's a very good chance that The Rock, Redbird, CFL, this merger could still be called the Canadian Football League. I really do. Wally's been interviewed on this. Wally said The Rock has tremendous respect for the CFL. So would it be a little more palatable to you, folks, if it was an 18, 19-team league on both sides of the border, but it was still called the Canadian Football League? We still had our Lions, Alouettes, Argos, Blue Bombers, and we played for the Grey Cup. What did the guy in Entourage say? Is
that something you might be interested in?
Is that something you might be interested in? What do you think?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I've been saying, too, is there's no evidence to say, look, we're talking about killing the CFL. We're talking about calling it the XFL and joining forces with the XFL. No, they're just talking.
Yeah.
Exploring possibilities for a merger. And as we've said again, and I'll repeat it here, when you're entering a relationship, you want to bring value.
Yeah.
So what is the CFL's value? Great game, wonderful traditions, Grey Cup, history, the great rules that we play by. And what does the XFL bring? Really nothing but these franchises that are already in place. Yep. And Redbird brings the marketing and the business. So that's where the XFL brings franchises, and that's it. They haven't really succeeded. So markets that are interested. Redbird brings the business and marketing and branding, and the CFL brings the wonderful game. So let's take all this, put it under the CFL's umbrella, we'll own it as Redbird, and away we go.
Who was the guy on the golf course is that something you might be interested in? Who was that guy that said it? Was an old Hollywood producer?
It was, and he did it all the time.
Yeah.
What if I told you? What if I told you?
Isn't this similar to that?
Exactly.
Anyways, there you go.
Bob Ryan.
There you go, CFL. We spent 12 minutes on the CFL. We got to move on. Monday, NHL Leftovers. We'll just stick to the Scotia North Division. Montreal beating Toronto 4-2 on the very night that the Leafs made all their moves. Of course, they didn't have them in the lineup, but I'm just saying the Habs won. Makes things interesting. Ottawa beat Winnipeg 4-2, and the comments are coming in like crazy. James Henderson in Borden, Manitoba says, one loss to Ottawa and everyone's ready to jump ship. Jets fans need to calm down. Even Toronto has trouble with the Sens, and you can't win every game. Go Jets. I'm watching the Ottawa game going, Mark Mathot might be right. The Sens might be better in 3 years than the Leafs, but that's so far away, we're not even going to talk about that right now. But it leads into our poll question today. With the NHL trade deadline behind us, who is Canada's Stanley Cup favorite? Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg. Running away with it on Twitter, Darren, is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Same as on Facebook, I see.
Yeah.
Second place, Winnipeg. And I voted for the Winnipeg Jets. Edmonton third, Montreal fourth. Moving on. Well, let me just say this. 17 trades yesterday. 26 players moved. We'll get into that with Gary. Plus, I think he's got some thoughts on the CFL stuff. The Pats, the Regina Pats, God's team are now 0-1 without Connor Bedard, and I could kick my own butt. I forgot the Winnipeg Ice hat that they gave me. I was going to put it up here. I'll be here tomorrow again. I'll bring the Ice hat because it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But I couldn't put it up yesterday when the Pats were playing the Winnipeg Ice.
No.
Winnipeg won 3-1. It was a very fun game. I had friends writing me after the game saying, that was fun. Right? Glad I got access to watch this.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying the Pats are 0-1 without Connor Bedard. It is what it is. Because, people will freak out and go, oh, what are you saying? I'm saying they're 0-1 without Connor Bedard. And tonight they got the PA Raiders at 8 p.m., and we'll be calling that game. So that's what's going on in the Dub Hub. Point 5, the Blue Jays fall 3-1 to the New York Yankees. I'm a Jays fan. I'm not a baseball aficionado. I'll read you the scores. I'm not dissecting the games. I got hockey to talk about, brother, and the CFL's house is on fire. That's what I'm paying attention to. Cool?
Cool.
Capiche? Point 6, and the last one is a good one. Ryan, you got my photo, didn't you? Oh, yeah. Put this up today. TSN 1050 Toronto is celebrating its 10-year anniversary today, and look at that. Just look at that. I know our listeners can't that are listening at rodpedersen.com/listen live. They are the home of the Argos. But you wouldn't know it Austin Matthews, Kyle Lowry, Vladdy, some soccer player I've never seen or heard of. And that's fine. And then Tom Brady, Tampa Tom. What the hell?
Why not?
How about that?
How about that?
Come on, TSN 1050 Toronto. Come, what does this say? Now, I loved the Jordan Potswald of the Fox Radio sent that to me this morning, and I'm debuting on Fox Radio on Monday. I'm very excited about that. But he sent that to me, and we're like, who's posting this? Is this an intern that doesn't know any better? Was this the top social media person that, like, are they intentionally snubbing the Argos? Was it an oversight? What the hell? People saying, what about the Bills? The Bills would have fit in real nice on that red, white, and blue banner you had there with the Leafs and the Raptors and the Toronto FC. What is going on with TSN and the CFL?
It's wild.
Is this an oversight or a deliberate kick in the cojones?
It's neither.
What is it?
It's not an oversight. It's not a deliberate kick in the nuts. It's they didn't even think about the Argos.
It's an oversight then.
But it wasn't. Yeah, but when I think of oversight, I think of mistake. They don't think it was a mistake. This doesn't even on the radar. And to me, as a branding kind of marketing guy, this isn't a Toronto problem. It's a CFL problem. And it's not a TSN problem. It's a CFL problem. Because if your product isn't big enough to get on the radar and for them to want to put you on their billboards, that's a you problem, not a them problem. They're going to put on their billboard what they think is most topical to their listeners and what's going to have the biggest impact and what represents their station. And it's sad that the Argonauts are on their station as a rights holder and they don't consider it part of, what they want to highlight in terms of station programming. So it's tough. And TSN, I do think there's some responsibility there to play ball, to have those conversations, but that's tough.
Chris Bird in Toronto's watching, and he says, it's a Toronto radio station. What did you expect? A picture of Connor McDavid? You better damn well be trolling Chris Bird. What do I expect? A player from the football team of which you carry their games on your radio station. If you're that big of a jerk with your comments, I don't need you watching the show. Like, that's cheeky. Right? That's trolling. If you actually think the Argos shouldn't be part of an ad for TSN 1050 and they carry their games, then go. I don't want you because you're not jiving with what we're doing here every day. I don't know why you would be watching in the first place if you don't think there's anything wrong with that. Anyways, we're way over time. Gary Lawless next. You're watching the RP Show on Game Plus TV, YouTube, and Facebook Live, and 24-hour sports talk for Suds Full Service Car Wash at rodpedersen.com. Listen live.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.